Hello, 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 YouTube. How are you guys doing today? Welcome, welcome, welcome. If it's your first time visiting the channel, this is Real Talk Therapy 101 with your girl Ebony. And for those of you who have been a part of this journey with me from September 2024 to September 2025, I want to send out an extended and very, very heartfelt thank you. Thank you for your patience, your kindness, your support, your encouragement, and most importantly, your motivation to stay focused on the purpose of the channel and the reason for getting started. So if you're new to the Real Talk Therapy experience and the Real Talk journey, this is where we're going to be sitting down having real life conversations about those things that have us mentally stuck or mentally in places that we feel like we can't get past. And it's all centered around our mental health. I stay away from the term mental health as much as possible because the stigma seems to turn people away from having conversations about those things that are bothering them or how to manage and move from one place to the other. One of the things that I have been doing, of course, is kind of introducing you guys to me, who I am, and what my credentials are. But one of the biggest things in mental health treatment and having conversations is building rapport. And rapport is just a little fancy word or clinical term we use when you're getting to know someone that you're working with. And so, when you're dating or when you first meet somebody that you think you're going to be cool with or be friends with, you spend some time getting to know that person. Society sometimes refers to it as the honeymoon period. So you go through some phases of getting to know who they are, what makes them tick, what makes them happy, what their favorite color is, favorite food, yada yada yada, and trying to figure out if you have anything in common with the person. And a lot of times you find those things and then you build on the friendship, relationship, whatever it may be from that point. And so in rapport building and over the past year, you guys have learned a few things about me, but not many things. And in order to have a conversation and in order for it to be real, I figured a year later, we will backtrack and go to the rapport building. I did share with you all, for those of you who have been following me, that a lot of the things that I share when we're talking about some of the mainstream topics that deal with mental health, I will share some experiences. I don't share folks' names because, other people's versions of the story are just as important as my version of stories are. And then for other people, I just don't disclose who they are or the circumstances. But those of you who know me in real life and really, really know me may know exactly who I'm talking about when I talk about some scenarios. But for the most part, I am big on using movies, cartoons, songs, anything that works for me when I'm processing and working through stuff, and anything that's easy for me when I'm working with clients. So, depending on what their interests are, that's the place that I come from. And so here we may even talk about some spiritual and religious, or I may use some spiritual or religious examples when we're talking about a certain topic. I've always encouraged you and shared, my personal spiritual belief. And so I can only speak from what I know. But if I don't know your spiritual belief, I don't want to deter you. Or if I don't speak on your spiritual belief, I don't want to deter you or keep you from tuning in and being a part of this experience. So with all of that being said, I normally would give a topic, big for making a t-shirt, which is how I started out. But today, you see, I'm dressed regularly, and I'll explain a little bit about that as to why. You'll see some different things this year, and I think that the channel needs to take just a different direction, because if we're having real talk conversations, the biggest thing about a real talk conversation is being real, being honest and coming from places that are unexpected. But at the same time, now I've been very, very true to this. I ain't gonna sit down with y'all and discuss any major detailed line by line things about my life. But I am going to be honest and let you know, hey, I experienced some of the same things that you all experience. And we all handle things differently. Does it make us right? Does it make us wrong? It's just how we handle and process it. And then the biggest part about compassion, empathy, sympathy, being able to relate, but more importantly, giving what we ask for from people. So, you know, if I want certain things to go a certain way in a relationship that I'm building, I have to be able and willing to give what I'm asking for. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But again, thank you guys for being supportive. Even if you're not supportive, I even thank those that have stuff to say. Because, you know, if it wasn't for you all, a lot of this stuff wouldn't reach the heights that it has reached to this point. So with that being said, let's get into today's video and today's topic. So my name is Ebony Campbell. I reside in the wonderful state of North Carolina. Professionally, I am a certified alcohol and drug counselor. I am a certified peer support specialist. I am a master level qualified professional. I have undergrad degree. I graduated from Elizabeth City State University. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Ooh. I have a master's degree in public administration, and I am working on my second master's in social work in order to expand what I'm able to do professionally for mental health and mental health journeys. So I currently work with companies for one particular company at the moment, but I do provide consulting services, training services. I am the owner, sole proprietor, and operator of Real Talk Therapy 101. It's my own LLC, my baby, that I have been kind of, I said I was going to be real, that I have been putting on the back burner because I've been trying to take care of everything else ahead of that. And so with that being said, there's a lot of things that have to change for me. There's some things that I have to do differently because in order for me to reach my own goals, I have to be able to put in the time and put in the work to do that. So wanted to share that tad bit about myself professionally, but on a personal level, I do want to share with you guys that I am the oldest of 4. I'm the only girl. I have 3 brothers, and I've talked about them in videos, but not in depth, kind of like I am doing today. And even though I am their only sister and I'm older, the 3 of them do think that they're big brothers. And so I have a little baby, a middle baby, and a big baby. But I have my 3 brothers. Don't have any biological sisters, but blessed, very, very blessed and fortunate to have 2 sister-in-laws and a lot of female cousins that are like sisters. Big, big, big on family. Family is very important to me. The family dynamics and all of that good stuff. But you guys definitely know about Mr. Campbell. I am married, been together for forever, and we're still holding on to that forever and a day. So Mr. Campbell is the man, in so many different facets, forms, and fashions, but most importantly, he's my friend. And he's a friend that I can trust, a friend that I can count on, a friend that no matter what he may have going on with him, and no matter what he may say, for those of you who really know him, he really thinks of others before he thinks of himself. And that's one of the attributes that people can have that can be a blessing and or a curse. But you guys have always heard me tell you that he is my plug for my main addiction, which is Coach. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And I do have my Coach bag and or accessory of the day that I feature in a video. But more importantly, right here recently, when I haven't been on top of my game for staying on the channel, we've started having some candid conversations with one another. And during one of those candid conversations recently, he just shared with me some different ways to do things so that I can stay on top of being able to really, really network, connect, move the channel from the place that it's at to a place where, you know, I really want it to be, and just how to manage doing my videos. He is a YouTuber for like for real. He knows a lot about YouTube. Both of the boys, so you all have heard me talk about my sons, Tyleek and Trayvon, which are not my biological children. But I've been in their lives for a very long time. They were 4 and 2 when I met their dad. So I've been blessed with the opportunity to watch them grow. Now there's grandkids, granddogs, future daughter-in-laws, and it's so exciting just to be a part of that personal piece of life. To be able to see those things outside of work, and the monotony of listening and helping other people day in and day out navigate through the tough parts of their journey and where they're stuck at. And learning in this past year more about myself, who I am now, where I am now, what I have going on now, what my interests are now, which direction I want to go now, because for a long time I've allowed the direction of what others had going on to kind of be the direction for where I wanted to go. And if we aren't careful, you guys can remember me telling you that your mind is your greatest asset. You know, you got to protect your thoughts, because if you have one thought that you allow to spiral out of control, it's going to control you. And you're not even going to realize it until you take a step back and really analyze and process what's going on with you. And that could be done in different ways, but you just got to figure out what way works for you as an individual. So with all of that being said, with each video moving forward, I will share a fun fact or some more information just about who I am, so you guys can get to know me personally, and the conversations really be real, because now you're getting into the real piece of who Ebony is and why Ebony is doing this and what is the purpose or the outcome or the expectation of it. So before we go into our real talk conversation for today, let me introduce you all to bag of the day. Good old forest green Coach. I don't know if you guys can see that, but nice backpack, heavy duty, carries everything. Forest green, one of my favorite colors, but also a very, very major fall color. So, and then you guys remember where I started out with my little notepad. So we back to basics. There's a video that talks about that. So sometimes you have to go back to some of the things that help keep you grounded as you begin to move forward. And then I have the fanny pack to match. I don't know how long I've had this or when I got it, but this is the bag for the day. And then my shoes are the forest green Vapor Max. I know that you all have seen those. So the setup that I have going on today, we won't be able to see the shoes. But thank you guys for again just coming on and being a part of today's conversation. And so what I wanted to talk about today was a couple of different things, because I've written some things down. It's been a while since we've had a real talk conversation, and one of the things that is real important when you want to try to move forward is you got to know who you are. You got to know who you are and what your expectations are. And so one human nature trait that is very popular among all human beings is the blame game. You know, stuff happens to us, and before we stop and take accountability for what's happening to us, why it's happening to us, or what it is we might be going through, why we might be going through it, why we're experiencing this, why we're in the midst of a storm and all of this stuff, it would help if we would stop and take accountability and try to look at the part we played with where we are, and try to look at how we got here, the choices that we made, instead of projecting blame and putting it on everybody else. So I told you guys, you know, for examples and explanations, there will be times where you'll hear me use things from the Bible. You'll hear me talk about different stories. And so when I thought about the blame game and coming over here talking today, one of my biggest things with the blame game was how far back does it originate? And believe it or not, the blame game actually goes all the way back. If you believe in the Bible and believe in Christianity and God, it goes back to the Garden of Eden. And when we look at females and males and how we were created, the order we were created in, and the things that the Bible teaches that, you know, kind of line up with what society teaches, then we understand that, you know, of course, Adam and Eve were the main characters in the Bible. Oh yeah, you guys know about my Coach case and my Coach glasses. So remember I told y'all, gotta have some help sometimes. Let's put these handy dandies on so we can see and read. And I don't like the glare, but I gotta be able to read to see. So anyway, Adam and Eve are placed in the garden. They're created. We know Adam came first. A rib was removed to create Eve. God said, hey, here you go. Here's a helpmate. They out here in this place called heaven together. And they're supposed to be working together to try to maneuver and make things work. So they get their directions from God. God clearly tells Eve Adam is the head. And Eve clearly still does what she wants to do. So depending on who you're talking to, this story in the Bible or this parable can go 1,000 different ways. But today I'm just going to give you my take on it with the blame game and how in behaviors, if we start out blaming people and we never stop and look at the part that we played and own up to what we've done and hold ourselves accountable so that we can move forward, then we're going to forever stay stuck where we are placing blame. So in Adam and Eve, Adam had a charge to watch out for Eve and take care of her and not to let her leave his side. Okay? The Bible is not clear on whether Adam was able to do that or not. But what it was clear on, at some point, they were not together. So Adam is somewhere and Eve is somewhere else. And now Eve is engaging with the devil, who we know is supposed to be in the form of a snake. So he telling her, hey, look, I know God told y'all not to eat this fruit. And it's in this place in heaven. But look, if you eat it, you're going to be just as smart as God. You're going to be able to do whatever God do. God don't want you to eat this fruit because he don't want you to be able to do the stuff that he can do. And the devil's in her ear, but her helpmate is, I don't know, he's not there with her. The Bible doesn't tell us if, they were supposed to be in two separate places or doing two separate things. It just says, hey, Adam, I made you a helpmate. So you won't be out here lonely. You will be by yourself, and you guys need to stick together. Here's what you do. Here's what you don't do. Because God already knew what the temptations were. He already knew what could happen if they separated. So, I tell these things based on how I know them, and I give them all my spin. And so when we think about females, and a lot of you females are not going to appreciate what I'm getting ready to say, but the truth is welcome. We don't listen. I mean, it's a common trait that we have. We don't listen. We hear you, but in the interim or in the beginning of it, we don't listen. So if Adam had said to her, "Look, all right, today is Tuesday," and there's no days of the week in the Bible, but it's Tuesday, and me and you gonna go and we're gonna walk in this valley, and we're gonna pick apples, and we're gonna do whatever. And he's like, "All right," but somewhere in there they got separated. You know what I'm saying? So when that separation happened, did Adam go looking for Eve? The Bible says that Eve took the fruit to Adam. So I don't know if he had been looking for her, couldn't find her. We don't know. But either way, Eve didn't listen. Because Eve is the one somewhere where her mate is not, and she's not taking the direction that was given to her. And as females, I know, and I know a lot of other females, that when we know a thing or when we think we know a thing, we ain't listening to nobody. We go out here and we try to figure out, we try to do it, and then when we make a mess, now we got to come back and, I went here and I did this. So we know Eve ate that fruit. Sister girl was still the same. Ain't nothing happened. The only thing that opened their eyes up was the fact that they were naked. They didn't have clothes on. They were naked. And they didn't know or understand what it meant to be naked until they both ate that fruit. The Bible doesn't say it was an apple, pear, strawberry, mango, whatever. it was a piece of fruit. Now, if Adam was trying to plead with Eve and she ain't listen, then Eve can't blame Adam for what happened after she ate the fruit. But Adam can't blame Eve either, because when she brought it to him, he had choices too. So Adam could have said, girl, I ain't gonna eat this fruit. Don't you know the Lord told us don't eat from that tree? And you around there picking from it, and you talking to a snake up in the tree? Like, what's wrong with you? Adam had the choice to do that, but nah. Eve handed him the fruit. Adam took a bite. And our choices now have consequences to them. So, now, all of a sudden, here comes God. And he's like, hey, where y'all at? Looking for y'all. Want to talk to y'all. See how y'all doing. And both of them now are experiencing shame and guilt. They knew they were wrong. They knew they were wrong. Both of them knew that they were wrong. Now, we got to talk to God. And the Bible says, Adam, well, Lord, that woman you gave me. Then the woman is Eve. Well, Lord, that snake that you let be up here. No. Neither one of them stood tall and said, you said don't do that. You told us, if we did it, the wages of that, of course, that is in the Bible is considered sin, but you told us if we did it, there's going to be some things we were going to have to answer to. Now they both are cast out of heaven. They got to get out of paradise and come down here on earth. And now they have to work and they have to experience hardships that they did not have to experience when they were up, with God and in heaven or wherever it is or however it is. Now they got to deal with some stuff that they didn't have to deal with in the beginning because of the choices that they made. Listen, guys, all I'm simply saying to you all today is that if we're in our 40s and we still blaming people for how we feel and where we are and what we have going on, it's time to stop. You have the authority to do whatever it is you need and want to do to fulfill whatever role you want to be priority in your life. You have the ability to make whatever changes you want to make. It's your mind. You have to make up your mind, but you also have to accept the consequences of your actions. It's nobody else's fault. It's yours. And so when you're able to accept where you are and accept what you got going on and accept the fact that you wouldn't be here if you had just done some things differently, made some different choices, all of that would have been different for you. Because how do we expect other people to live up to unrealistic expectations that we put on them? So we want people to do stuff that they're not capable of doing. God didn't ask Adam and Eve to do nothing that they couldn't have done. All he said was, don't eat from this one tree. That was simple, because it wasn't that they didn't have food or they couldn't eat. It's just don't eat from this one tree. One directive. And up until the day that Eve wandered off and the devil got in her ear, they followed their directives and they didn't miss a beat that we're aware of anyway. So we're just going to imagine that they didn't miss a beat. They didn't miss a meal. They had everything that they needed. And there was just one thing that they were asked not to do. And it wasn't because God felt like if they ate their fruit, they were going to be like him, because God already recognized, hey, I'm God. So who I am and what I can do is not the abilities that I gave everybody else that I created. So Adam was a king and a god in his own right, according to the Bible. He was given dominion over the animals. He's the man. He's the head of the household. So he has a certain sense of authority already. Adam shouldn't have wanted or felt the need to eat fruit or anything to try to be like God. Which leads me to my next point. Why do you want to be like anybody? Everybody was uniquely made. everybody has their own set of skills. So when you start trying to emulate, and emulate again is a little fancy word, of trying to be like other people, you start diminishing your own self-worth. It ain't nothing, none of these people that I like to watch on Ratchet TV, reality TV, Instagram, whatever I might be on. It's nothing that any of these people have that I want. It's nothing that any of these people have that I just feel like I gotta have it because it's gonna enhance who Ebony is. I'm a movement all by myself. Yeah, y'all know that's fab. But I'm a force when I'm with my husband. Because together, I accomplish so much more than I could ever do by myself. He brings in everything that I'm missing individually. And if we don't take the time to recognize that, then you'll miss it. And you'll miss out on what you have and what's in front of you. There's a lot of things that we can do on our own, but there's also a lot of stuff we cannot do on our own. And so when we venture out and we get out here and we start trying to do things that we aren't able to do, we're not capable of it, or we get out here and then we make a mess, and then we got to come back and, you know, eat that little humble pie and, hey, you know what? I think I need you. You got to be able to understand who you need, why you need them, and what you need them for. You got to be able to understand, too, not only that, the people that we need and the things that we want, we got to be able to reciprocate. And that's a fancy word for being able to do the same. I can't expect my husband to feed me 7 days a week, and I can't feed him one. I can't expect everything to fall on him, and I'm not helping no way. Because if I believe the Bible, and I'm following my beliefs, we're helpmates. And we're here to help each other. And those things that we do together, they're recognized together. I don't take credit for anything that I don't do alone. I can't take credit for it. I didn't do it by myself. And so we got to recognize that. We got to be able also to stop letting people rent space in our head. And this is another candid conversation I had with Mr. Campbell, and he shared with me a video. He let me watch it. I can't remember if it was YouTube, Instagram, or who it was. But I just know the person was talking about people renting space in your head. And when he shared that thought with me, and I'm not giving it verbatim, I'm giving it from what I held on to and what it did for me. But it was something like allowing people to rent space in your head can be expensive. And when I remember the expensive piece of it, I started to realize, man, it can be so expensive. It could eventually cost you everything. These people in your head, and you steady trying to figure them out or figure things out or chase down these different things or run down these different ways or start looking at things in different ways and creating, you know, thoughts and scenarios that don't exist. Now remember, this is real talk, so I'm speaking from experience. And you go through all of this in your head and it ain't nowhere near what you even thought it was. So now you done created a whole nother issue that didn't need to be created. Now you done went into a forefront of a whole nother thing that's not even real or important. And now it's causing real life issues for you because you're in your head. Thoughts are powerful. I share with you guys, September is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. People who kill themselves usually cannot turn off the thought that they don't belong, that they don't need to be here. And they never leave without having tried to reach out to somebody. Anybody who knows anybody that committed suicide, nobody ever really calls and says, I'm getting ready to kill myself, and then do it. There's usually a plea, or they've said it before. And remember, I told you guys, we can be so down in the dumps that you feel like that's something you might want to do. But then you got to look at your life. Look at the value that you bring. Look at what others bring to you. Don't look and dwell on the thought that want to take you away from here. So need to do that. But some people are weak and they can't help but do it. People who can't think for themselves, they're weak. And that's real talk. They're weak. Anybody out here that wants to be like somebody else, you're weak. And you've got to tap into that weakness and find some strength to build it up. Because if we were supposed to be like other people, what's the point of us all being different? If I was supposed to be like somebody else, what is the point of me being completely different and opposite from this person? Or somebody I've never known, never seen, may never cross their paths in this life. And then you got to remember too, what you see might not be what's relevant and real. Again, speaking from reality. Now, I've been real as far as talking about diagnosis and the symptoms and behavioral health and all that stuff that comes along with it. I've been real enough to even tell you guys some scenarios of things that I've dealt with. But being even more real or even more realistic and in touch with what you have going on, you got to be able to know how and when to face these things and how and when to accept these things that's going on with you. And so allowing people to get in your head and rent that space will cause you to miss out on a lot of stuff simply because our mind is so engulfed in whatever that is. And it could eventually cost you everything. And so with that, that was a thought I wrote down yesterday. So you see me going back. But with that, I was, on with school and trying to look at how much further I had to go, what I had left, and trying to figure out when I'd be able to, continue these studies and finish and get through. And I failed a class. No, I failed 2 classes. And so I went from academic probation to academic suspension. The next step is you kicked out of this program. And it's not because I'm not, I don't have the academic ability to do the work. I just allowed my circumstances to keep me from doing what I needed to do. And one of the biggest things of advice and the biggest pointer that has truly got me back up on it came from my biggest cheerleader, Campbell. It's like, look, you feeling how you feeling, but the work go on. Got to get up, get dressed, and go do what you got to do. Can't keep sitting here. If you keep sitting here, you're missing opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. So yes, I was so beside myself. That's why there was no video. That's why there was no, it's like, oh, I don't want to do that now. I don't know. For what? For what? If I can make the time to sit on my iPad, because I have these favorite games that I like to play, and I can play them for hours if I'm not careful. So if I can make the time to sit down and do that for hours, I can make the time to get my tail up in the morning, do what I need to do for work, do what I got to do for school, do what I got to do, for whatever. And then when it's time to shut it all off and be home and be the wife, grandmother, stepmother, daughter, sister, cousin, whatever it is I need, I don't have to be worried about work that I've left undone or school work that I haven't done or making excuses for not being on top of my stuff. That ain't nobody's fault. But I wanted to blame everything. I wanted to blame whatever was going on with me personally that I couldn't deal with in the moment. Or whatever was going on the job that I didn't like at the moment. Oh. Let's sit back, reevaluate, and look. Because you didn't get kicked out of the program. So now here's your opportunity to not only do what you got to do, but make it to the end. Because the other part about that, when I was talking to the field advisor, and he's like, hey, you're so close to finishing. And I didn't know how close to finishing I was in that conversation until I logged on to my student portal and saw what I have left to reach the finish line, guys. But I can sit here today and tell you that the thought of failing those 2 classes and not being able to stay on course with it consumed me for a long time. I didn't even log into my student portal. Shoot, yesterday I couldn't even get in there. I couldn't find my login. I couldn't find nothing. Was so unprepared for something that I want. How can we be unprepared for a goal we want to reach? And it's possible. I talk people off the ledge every single day. I have all the right words for everybody else's scenario. But then I can't sit down and sort through mine, or even sit down and really talk to my husband about what I'm feeling or what's going on in my head. All because I've constantly been standing on making sure everybody else is good, and I'm going to be last and secondary because they need a win. They need to feel good about themselves. They need to be okay. They need me, but I need me too. I have the support system. I just got to use it. People can't help us if they don't know what we really need help for or help with. And that's just real talk. It's the truth. It's a real life fact. People can't help you if they don't know that. So, when we start talking about being there and, oh, these people weren't here for me, I don't feel supported, I didn't get this or this or that. No. Are you looking at the support? Or is it the support doesn't look the way we want it to look that we don't see that it's there? I'm guilty of that. Is it that the help is not there because we didn't know what it looked like? Guilty of that. Or the help is not there because we didn't ask for it. Or we didn't sit down and have candid, real conversations so we could understand and communicate better. Or we don't even know what really is going on with us to the point where we can even tell somebody what's going on with us. And then when there's still unanswered or unanswered questions, or you're still feeling the kind of way, we go right back to wanting to blame. Nah. It's time to be honest and real with yourself about what you're going through, why you might be going through it, and what you're going to do different. Be who you are. Because I'm here to tell you, the more you try to change who you are and do all these different things and try to accommodate, all it does is cause chaos inside of you. Because the real you is fighting. Remember the wolf in sheep's clothing. Be who you are. The people who love you, really love you for who you are, they're going to continue to love you. The people who are there for you, that have seen you fall flat on your face, that know things about you that other people don't know, that lift you up and hold you up anyway, that let you present yourself however you feel like you need to present yourself when you go outside, them your people. Them your people. Your people who are not going to let you choke. Them your people. It ain't going to feel good when they don't let you choke. It ain't going to feel good when they tell you. You ain't going to like it. But them your people. Anybody that go along with you to get along with you, it's a couple of things going on there. Either they still struggling with who they are or who they're becoming, or they were never your people to begin with. Because it ain't nothing about nobody that any of us can say we like 100%, 365 days of the year. Something about everybody irritates us. It's just how we maneuver through it and tolerate it. And if it's worth tolerating, then that's what we find ourselves doing. So mentally, you've got to find a place to be able to know that, all right, here's the directives in life. Here are the things that I know I ain't supposed to do if I'm married. Here are the things that I know I ain't supposed to do when I clock into this job. Here are the things that I know I ain't supposed to do if I'm going to call somebody my best friend. Here are the things that I know I ain't supposed to do if I'm a protector of peace for whoever or whatever. I know that I ain't supposed to do them. Everybody has that thought. We get it when we're young. Kids know when they're doing the wrong thing. They look back at you to see if you're looking. And then they're going to try you anyway. And then if we let them get away with it, it's going to keep happening. But in order for you to move from A to B, the first thing you got to do is take all this blame that you out here tossing out and deal with it internally. It's time to let go of some of that stuff. If we still holding on to anything past, I don't know, your immediate present, then you're holding up getting to where you need to be in your future. You're holding up going where you want to go. And the hard conversations, they really are hard, but they're worth having. They're worth having. You can look at this in so many different ways, but the most important thing to do is to look at it. If you never take the time to look at the situation, if you never take the time to look at what's really going on, and if you never ever take the time to look at you, then your unrealistic expectations are going to cause you to find yourself in places, situations, and things that you didn't anticipate being in and having to deal with on your own. And it's not going to be any easier than what you're dealing with right now. Solitude is deadly. Solitude is deadly. It's deadly. And for some reason now, it seems to be common practice for people to want to take on the image or the persona of somebody else. You're robbing the world of you, your uniqueness and who you are. The people who really know you looking at you out the side of their eye like, where Ebony at? Because this ain't her. And the people who don't know you begin to believe this lie or this version of who you've presented yourself to be. And you can only keep that up, but for so long. So why? I'm 47 years old. It's too much energy to do too much stuff of fakeness and foolery and all. It's too much. I don't feel like it. And we don't feel like it, we don't have to do it. We gotta be rude and obnoxious about it, but I just ain't gotta do it. And one of the worst things we could ever do is dim our light because somebody else got a problem with our light bulb. Because everybody got a light bulb. And so outside of our house, we've got these motion lights or cameras. Not cameras. We got cameras, but they're lights. I don't know. They're lights. And they're bright. But Campbell put some bulbs in them that made them extremely bright on the outside. And so it wasn't that we couldn't see before the light bulbs were changed, but now you can really see, especially if all the lights are on. So the brighter the bulb, the more clear you can see. But it didn't take away from what the other light bulbs did. So I'm saying that to say both light bulbs produce light. One has more wattage, more brightness, more whatever. But the light bulb that shines brighter was created to shine brighter. It doesn't mean the other light bulbs didn't work. Sometimes light bulbs go out. So now realistically, I don't know if you can use a light bulb once it burns out. I don't know if there's an alternative use for a light bulb or not. But when we're talking about mentally, if the light goes out, now you got to figure out how to turn your light bulb back on. Because your light bulb is not working unless you check up out of here. Now, if you dead, you ain't got no live light. But if you're alive, you have live light. And somebody else's light shining brighter than yours shouldn't mean a hill of beans to you. You should be congratulating them. Hey, I see you. Your light is shining. I see you. But let your light shine. Let who you are and your authenticity, which is a conversation for another day, because a lot of y'all forgot how to be authentic. You're so caught up in other people's lives and what they got going on, you don't even know who your authentic self is. And that's why mentally you can't get past the point that you're at. Originality is an art form that is dying because society, social media, these celebrities and all these people that y'all idolize and look up to is trying to tell you that you need to do this in order for this to work, or you need to do this and this. How do people telling you something about a life they ain't living? And how you listening to somebody who's living a life that you ain't living? So I'm going to bring this thing to a close. And I know it's a little longer than what I normally do, but my intro, you know, I had to say some things that I just had to say today in my intro. But in closing, in one of our candid conversations recently, we were talking about just people getting advice from people, and if you're going through something, who you would rather talk to, or what you would rather have going on. So, of course, being in mental health and behavioral health, if you're having a issue, my go-to is always, hey, you need to find somebody to talk to, find your therapist, find you somebody that you can talk to about what's going on. So if you're having trouble in a marriage or in a relationship, a lot of people say, oh, y'all might need marriage counseling. So Campbell made this point that has been so resonated in my spirit and even in the work that I'm doing now. Campbell said, I would rather talk to an older couple that has been together 50 years than to go sit down and talk to a therapist and or a preacher who does not have that kind of experience under their belt. Because the people that's been together for 50 years, I know they done been through something. If they made it to 50 years, let's sit down and talk to them about what you might be going through versus going to talk to somebody just because they have the licensure, the degree, and they work at the place, and this is what they're supposed to specialize in. Because how can somebody specialize in something, but they're not experiencing it? You know, we can study all day long, and we can get specializations and certifications or whatever. But I'm here to tell you, experience is one of the best teachers. And in order to really capture people's attention, they need to know, hey, you went through this and you made it through that. Or nah, I ain't go through it, but I know somebody who did. Or I've seen this, so I can help you through that. It's the honest piece of it. Just being able to say, nah, I don't know what that feel like or look like, but we can try to look through this thing and figure it out together. It's up to you, what you want to do. And all of those things come in handy when you're sitting down and you're collaborating with a mind other than your own. Scientifically, opposites really do attract. And realistically, opposites attract. Look at some of the people that you're friends with. Look at some of the people you're attracted to. And some of the things, figure out what you're attracted to. What is the attraction to this car? What is the attraction to this color? What is the attraction to creating this ambiance? What is the attraction to that? What's the appeal for you? Is it something you really want? Or is it something somebody in your circle wants and they talked about it? Or somebody that you watch on social media has and you think that you just got to have it? What is your drawn appeal to it? Individuality is sacred. And the more you try to be like somebody else, the more you're going to fall short, because you just were not designed to be like other people. You were created to be who you are. And that's okay. Those people who are supposed to love you, they're going to do that. So always consider your source. And that's a life lesson that I learned here recently and learned it from Campbell. Because like I said, not only is he my friend, there are times where he's my counselor. There's times where he's, he's always my protector. There's times where, he's my challenger. He'll challenge me. All right, well, let me ask you this. What would you do here? How would you do this? Or where are you with that? And I call him a walking wealth of information, because if there's anything else that I may or may not know, or if we just having a conversation, he just might know it. But I'll never know if I don't have the conversation with him. So you got to seek out and know where to go. And always remember, it's okay to get advice or talk things out and have other people make recommendations. But you still got to go back and weigh them out and see, how is that going to work for you? What is it going to look like for you? And how is it going to turn out for you? And it's okay to not agree with some of the stuff that people are telling you. You weren't created to be a yes man or a yes woman. No, I don't agree with that. And to be able to stand on why, and then be okay if other people have a problem with it. You don't have to. And if you agree, then that's fine. But have your own mind. Because I'm here telling you, to want to be like somebody else is a weak state of mind to be in, especially if you don't know everything you need to know about who you're trying to be like and emulate. Adam and Eve knew God. They knew him personally. And then they still didn't do the one thing that he asked of them. But because God is who he is, he spared them, had compassion, and said, hey, I told y'all the wages of sin was going to be death, but instead of killing you, I'm going to just send you somewhere else and let things be a little bit harder for you. And you can do that in real life. Hey, we ain't, you know, the one thing I asked you to do, if it was something that you couldn't do, and I'm seeing that you're struggling with it, because you got to be specific with the thing that you're asking people to do to it. And that's why I said you got to search you. Because how we asking people to do things for us and we ain't even sure if that's what we want or if that's what we're going to want 2 weeks from now. Your mind changes too. So we can't put expectations on people that are unrealistic. You definitely can't put expectations on people that you can't meet yourself. So God didn't need to eat from that fruit. So he didn't ask them to do something that he couldn't do. So make sure what we're asking of others is realistic, and then make sure whether they follow through or not, are you still going to be patient enough to understand that, damn, I might have asked them to do something they couldn't do. Now, shit, I'm asking them to do something that I can't even do. Pardon my language, because, I told y'all, a couple church folks, and my grandma be looking at this channel, but hey, church folks know I cuss, grandma know I cuss. Hey. And you got to start looking at that stuff. Even the Bible. So a lot of y'all going to be mad with me this season. This year with Real Talk Therapy. Because as we talk through these things, you got to look at what's realistic, what makes sense, and what it's really saying, and not what we want it to say. Hear what people are really trying to say to you. And if you don't understand it, have a candid conversation. It's not hard. It's not hard. It don't feel good, and it's not comfortable, but it's not hard. We got to start somewhere. So I figured we would start this year off being realer than we've been before and building a rapport and getting to know one another on levels that might help one another. Because my perspective is not the only perspective, but it just might be something that could help somebody. So you guys take care of yourselves physically, mentally, financially, but most importantly, emotionally. Because if you aren't fit emotionally, you're not going to be able to take care of any of those other needs without something eventually happening that you can't see your way back from. So again, thank y'all for having these conversations. Stay tuned for several shorts coming your way and more consistent videos. And yeah, your girl back in school. So that journey has began again, and we're just going to continue to do how we've been doing, having those real life conversations, using those real life, models of it. But we have to get to a place of where we got to get past ourselves and be able to stop, look, think, listen before acting, before saying some things. Because I done did and said some things, man, this year alone that I'm not proud of. And I've struggled with myself for being that version of myself and for allowing things to take me there. Because none of it was necessary. And our actions could cost us everything. So you got to think about what's sacred to you. What do you really want to hold on to, and what are you okay being without? And if it's something that you're okay being without, let it go. What you holding on to it for? If you can find a way to manage without it, let it go. Leave it alone. What are you holding on to it for? Ask yourself those things. What are you trying to do? And all of that starts, within. So again, we got a lot of work to do, a lot of places to go, and we're going to get there. And I want to thank you guys so much for, again, like I said, being a part of this journey with me, being a part of just the Real Talk Therapy navigation. I'm still out here in my boat. You guys are still out there in yours. So we got to figure out where we want to go so we can start heading in the right direction and be able to achieve whatever personal goals you've set for yourself. And enjoy your life. Live in your moment. Quit going back. Can't do nothing about it. Look ahead. Look at where you're going. Look at where you want to go. And go. Go do it. And just, again, be easy. Thank y'all for joining. And see you guys next time. Okay.